Hey, John Burton here again, and I guess this will be kind of a part two to my podcast that I recorded earlier today. I'm talking about grace teaching, grace teachers, grace people, grace churches, and there's an increasing concern regarding them, and a differentiated, between hyper grace churches and then just what people call grace churches. And I want to hit on one specific thing right now, and this is really interesting how this comes up time and time again. Those who are quote unquote grace people, and again, I've got to qualify, there's a lot of amazing grace people. A lot of them are just lovers of Jesus and on. And so I just want to make sure that I make that clear. However, I think there's some dysfunction, there's some problems in that movement. And what happens, I see this a lot, it would shock you, or maybe it wouldn't shock you. But whenever I talk about, and I talk about it all the time, and I write articles all the time, and I'll read comments on my Charisma magazine articles, and I just read one actually just a moment ago, which is kind of what made me think to go ahead and do this podcast. But when I talk about prayer and being on fire for Jesus and, living, in the prayer room and contending for revival and, and all of that, just living that fiery, passionate life. There are many, and it's happened many times, there are many in the grace camp that will rise up and attack that mercilessly. And even to this day, I'm like, what in the world are you doing? And there was a comment on an article that I just wrote. It was published today in Charisma magazine online, and I was talking about the changes coming to the church, and one of the points I made was pastors and leaders in the church will be just giving themselves to insane hours of prayer and living a supernatural life and encountering God in that way, and will be leading the church from that place, the outflow of his heart, of his life, of his passion, his devotion, his prayer life. That's going to be what drives the church. It's going to be supernatural. And someone made the comment, and this person comments a lot on my articles, and I get a kick out of him, and he loves just hurling accusations. But he made a point that a lot of people make, is that stinks of works. And in fact, he even said that if you live that life of devoted intercession, and that you'll actually have some sort of a mental breakdown. And so many, 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 many times over the years, when I've talked about a radical, wholehearted life of prayer and being on fire for Jesus and all of that, people have come against me, and they've come against that mindset, and they've renounced it, and they've rejected it. In fact, I spent some time at the International House of Prayer, where if you're on staff there, you're praying in the prayer room 4 hours a day, and you're also involved in ministry of another type, another 4 hours a day. And man, people are renouncing that type of a lifestyle as religious, as legalistic. There are people that will say that it's completely and entirely unnecessary because the work of the cross is finished, so we don't have to do anything. There's no responsibility at all to develop a deep relationship with Jesus. It's not important to them. It's not, in fact, not only is it not important, it is inappropriate. So to develop, you got to listen to me. I'm not talking about a few people out there. Some of you are listening to this. I hope you're like, oh my gosh, that's me. A lot of people are renouncing a wholehearted, on fire life of prayer and intercession. I would love for you to speak to this. And it's the grace camp that's doing this, because the grace camp is saying we don't have to do anything. All of that stinks of works, and it's all done. Now we sit back, and we try to live a better life, and we try to do things, but it's completely unnecessary because it's all finished. I would love to know what you think about this. People coming against passion, zeal, and fire for Jesus, especially when it comes to prayer and the prayer movement. Talk to me.